Hello guys, welcome back to Enter to Python. My name is Anish and I am an instructor for this series. Last class we looked at input and different types of inputs like string inputs, int inputs, and we also gave you a small project to do where you take two inputs from the user and then you're supposed to multiply them, add them, subtract them, and then even divide them. But there was a problem with that code. What if your user only wanted one output? Your user only wanted the two numbers multiplied, or he only wanted the two numbers subtracted, but you did all four of them. Now, while in your code there might not be that big of a time difference, but when you're writing thousands and thousands of lines of code, giving out everything to your user and just giving out what he wants can often have a huge time difference and can save your user valuable time. And today we are going to learn how to do that. The way you do this and the way you change your till now what we've been doing is we're having a hard coded information and we're changing that code based on the input the user gives us. But rather than that, what about now changing the whole dynamic of our code based on what the user gives us? So if the user says multiply, only the multiply section of our code works. If the user says add, only the add section of our code works. So we are going, in order to do this, we are going to use something called if and elif statements. So let's start by recapping what we did last class. We did input. So let's say I have number one, which will be enter input. So here I'll say enter number one. Then I can just copy paste this and change this to number two. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a third option where they can either decide to add or subtract. So option equals to string this time because they're going to enter some text piece. So input add or subtract. I'm just going to say add a sub. The user should understand. So now what I can do is this the if statement I'm talking about. So we know now when we run the program, we're either going to be asked. So hold on, let it run. Give it a second. Yes, so we're going to ask to enter a first number, second number. So we're either going to be asked to enter add or subtract. So if I write add, value of OPT changes to add, correct? And after that, what I can do is I can use an if else statement, which is the concept we're learning today, to say if OPT equals to add, then you add the numbers, or if OPT equals to subtract, then you subtract the numbers. So the way you write the syntax for this is very simple. If in all lower cases, you'll know it's correct if it's orange. Neither, then you say if OPT. OPT is double equal to add in strings because it's add. Now let me and then this, so let me just explain the line of code we've written here. Firstly, is if what writing if does is say it's basically giving your code a condition. So you're saying if whatever I say next is true, only then will you execute what comes after the colon. So once you write if, I say OPT, which is this here, is equal to add. So now I know some of you might be confused why the double equal. Well, in Python, when you write the single equal to, like this here, it means that the value has to be equal to this. So the value has to be changed. But in Python, when you write double equal to, it means is the value equal to. So I just like you guys to note this down anywhere. Single equals to means the value has to be changed. So if I say opt equals to this, whatever comes, the value of opt will change from nothing to add or subtract. But if I say double equal to, all it'll do is it'll check if the value that opt has is equal to add. So therefore we use double equal to. And finally, colon means if the previous part is true. And once you put a colon, you'll see that it will indent the line. So by indent, we basically mean there's going to be a tab in front of your line. And yes, the tab is necessary because that basically shows that if this is true, only then you do whatever's inside the tab. So inside the tab, we'll do print num1 plus num2, wrong spelling, my bad, plus num2. And now next, after now some of you might say next we would just write if opt equal to sub then print num1 minus num2. And you wouldn't be wrong. If I do this, it would still work. So if I did on 5 and to num2 3, if I said add, it would work. And if I said 5 3 sub, it would work. Thing is, this is not really the most efficient form of code. Let me, do you want to know why? Well, I'll explain. So let's say the user enters add. Yeah. Now what this will do is it'll take the three inputs. It will check, is opt equal to add? Yes, it is equal to add. Then it'll say print num1 plus num2. But then because there's also another if statement here, the code will also check, is opt equal to sub? No, yes it is. So I mean sorry, no it's not. So I won't print it. But the thing is, if opt is already equal to one value, why is the code even bothering to go to the second value? That is very inefficient, isn't it? Because we already know the answer. The code is already outputted if opt is equal to add. Then why should it go on to the second value and check if opt is also equal to sub? Because that's not possible, right? Well, this is where the second part of this concept comes in. It's called elif, else if. So it is written else if. So it will first check if opt is equal to add, and then if it's not equal, only then will it move on to the statement that says else if. Now the syntax with this in Python is exactly the same as if, only you write an el before it. So it becomes elif. And oh yeah, for those of you guys who don't know what I'm writing in red, these are called notes. These are basically as soon as you put a hashtag in Python, it just takes it as a note, no value. It's just something to put there. So elif. Now, when I write elif, what's going to happen is the code's going to run the exact same way. 5, 3, and 8. I got the same values. But the thing is now, this code came a lot faster than what came when elif worked. You know why? It's because as soon as it checked if and it got this was as soon as the statement was true, it didn't even bother to check the statement because it only says else. And by else you mean if the previous statement is not true, only then come to me. Compared to if there was if here, or what it would do is it would check the statement even if it was true, even after if the statement was true, it would still come back to the second one. But some of you might ask the question, what if none of these statements are true? What if opt is not equal to add, and what if opt is not equal to subtract? What if, let's say, the user didn't enter the right value? Well, there is where else comes in. Else. So in else, you basically say if the user enters anything else other than add a sub, that is where you would include else. So in else, what you would do is the syntax is slightly different, so pay attention. In else, you would say else. And straight away colons, no opt equals to anything else. You just say else, print, please enter, add or sub. So for those of you having confusion, this is how the code goes. It says if the value of opt is add, then print 1 plus 1. I mean print 5, 8 plus 3. If it's not that, then otherwise if the value of opt is sub, then do num1 minus num2. Else, if the value is not add or sub, which were the two values you were asking, it will say else. If the value is anything else in the world, it will say please stop, enter, add or sub. Now, some of you might be confused where to use elif and else. Just remember, with else there's no condition, but with elif there is always a condition. Okay? And if you're a little confused, feel free to always ask us questions in our comment sections or email us. And that was Intro to Python Lesson 3. For your home project, try and write this code on your own device and maybe try and build a functioning calculator where you have to add, subtract, multiply, divide, everything like that. Okay? And we'll see you next time. Bye.